Hey guys, welcome back. I have had a busy couple of weeks. I had to go out of town for a training for 4 days, so that was busy. And then this week at school, we've been getting ready for parent-teacher conferences. So anyway, I didn't cook a whole lot, but here are 3 meals that are just cozy and nice for the cooler weather we're getting. I know around where I live, the temperature dropped quite a bit and it's been actually borderline cold and snow on the top of the mountains. So I'm not liking that. I really like fall, but that's okay. Anyway, today I made, not today, but I made for this week's video, I made some Italian, like Olive Garden, copycat type chicken Alfredo. And I took my chicken breasts and I sliced them into 3 to get them all kind of even. And then I didn't have a meat tenderizer, so I just used a jar. It worked. And then I put it in a Ziploc. So this is one that you could make ahead if you wanted to have it ready to go for later in the week. But I marinated my chicken breasts in the Olive Garden dressing for at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I just set them out on the counter. After they had been salted, I let them get to room temperature so they would cook more evenly. And then I fried them up on a frying pan over medium heat. And then it was time to turn them, and they were starting to brown on that side. Then I pulled them off and was able to finish cooking the rest of them. Then I chopped them up into chunks and set them aside. I really liked how easy it was to make this pasta and this sauce in this recipe. You just take cream cheese, and I added it to the drained noodles, but I left just a little bit of the noodle juice in there just to give it some starch to thicken it up a bit. So I melted the cream cheese in, added some seasonings, and then added my cheeses, and that was basically it. Super simple, all in one pot, which is, I don't know, that's a win for me. Added some Italian seasoning, mixed that up, and then I added my cheese. I added some salt, but it's important to kind of taste and add so that you don't add too much, but it's also not bland. And then I added back the chicken. I added just a little bit more dressing on top to give it some acidity, and then I did squeeze a little bit of lemon juice onto it and ate it with capers. I just didn't record that part, but this was really tasty. I am not a huge fan of pasta, so this recipe I actually liked, and I liked it enough that I took the leftovers and I put it in my double bowl. I doubled the paper bowls so they wouldn't get soggy. And I sucked out the air of these freezer Ziploc bags and stuck them in the freezer, and actually ended up eating one for lunch later that week. It was pretty nice. I've actually had a few people ask how I reheat these meals, and here is an example of the one I took to work. I just opened the bag and I stuck it in for 3 minutes, but I ended up only cooking it for 2.5. And after about 2.5 minutes, I pulled it out, took it out of the bag, stirred it around, and it was a perfect, easy, quick, delicious lunch. Who doesn't love potato soup or any soup on a cold day? I know I've made potato soup before on my channel, but I was challenging myself this time to make it a simpler recipe. Try to make it a little simpler because potato soup can be a little involved. So I cut up my potatoes and set them aside in water until I was ready to use them. Then I cut up my bacon and I fried my bacon in a Dutch oven pan. And then I pulled the bacon out when it was all crisp and delicious looking. And while that was cooking, I also sliced up my other vegetables, some celery into little chunks. And I sliced up an onion, maybe half an onion, I can't remember. And then when I pulled the bacon out, I left the grease in the pan so I could saute up these vegetables. So here's the bacon when it's ready to go. It's been cooking, and I took it out and drained it on a paper towel, and then I added my veggies and let those soften up and get a little translucent and golden. Then I slowly added some flour, about 1/4 of a cup, maybe 1/3 of a cup, to thicken the soup. And let that cook for just a minute or two to cook the flour. And then I had some broth left over from a roasted chicken my husband had got from Costco. So I brought that out and put that in there, but you could use water as well. Then I put my potatoes in and let them cook down till they were soft, maybe 15 minutes over medium. Add your salt and taste along the way so you get the right flavor. And then I added some half and half. If you have milk, you can use a whole milk too, that would work. And I was really impressed at how easy this soup was for a potato soup recipe. Added back my bacon, and some chives, that's right. Now at this point I was like, oh, this looks really good. And then I remembered, oh, I think my daughter always uses cheddar cheese or sharp cheddar in her potato soup she makes. So I had bought it was in the fridge, so I just had to add it. So I slowly incorporated the cheese and removed it from the heat. Cream-based soups are a little harder to freeze, and for this particular recipe we ate it 2 nights in a row, so we didn't have any extra to freeze, but I probably wouldn't have even if we did. That's, I think, why I chose to have it the second night, to eat it up and when it was still good and fresh. One of my son's most highly requested meals is steak. He loves steak. So I decided to jazz up our steak a little bit by adding some roasted vegetables along with it. So I started by breaking off the hard, kind of fibrous end of the asparagus and rinsed those. And then I rinsed my mushrooms and cut off the stem and put those aside in a bowl. Once those were finished, I rinsed my baby multicolored potatoes that I found and I was really excited about. I chopped those in half. And then I drizzled them with some olive oil and seasoned them up with my garlic seasoned salt blend. Make sure that the potatoes are well coated in the oil. That will help carry the flavor. I kind of overdid it with the salt, so be careful. Oh, I did add extra garlic powder to really give these flavor. Mix that around, and then I put them all face down on the mat so that they would kind of roast and toast on the cut end. I stuck those in the oven a little bit before these other vegetables because I knew they'd take longer. So in the meantime, I coated these with the same thing, some olive oil and some of the seasoning, and mix those around and put them on another sheet. I knew these would be more watery and not take quite as long, so I wanted to separate them. And then I took my steaks, which I had salted earlier and had let them get to room temperature, and I added just a little bit of steak seasoning to them. And then I took them out to the grill. So my potatoes are getting there, they're getting cooked, and I slid in my other vegetables to finish cooking as well. I think I put them in for probably around 400 degrees. Sometimes I go with potatoes, I go up to 425, or even, well, I wouldn't say more than 425. All right, they've been baking and they are all done and roasted and looking so delicious. So I pulled them out. And I knew my steaks weren't that thick, so I knew they weren't going to take very long. So I let those rest for a minute and went out and threw my steaks on the grill. I came back in and kind of tossed those veggies around, and yes, I am wearing my coat because, like I said, it got really cold around here. So when I was going back in and out of the house, I was chilly. I let the steaks rest for a little bit and then I served it up. Pretty simple, but very tasty. Well, there you have it. There's 3 cozy fall winter meals that can keep you warm on those cold days. One of the fun things I did while I was at my training in Salt Lake City was go to a Utah Jazz game. I thought it was pretty cool. We got to see the dancers and it was a lot of fun. What did you guys do this week? I hope all of you all are doing well, and I hope you join me back here next week as I will be hopefully doing some more freezer meals by popular demand. Have a great week. Bye.